You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Intuitive Queens podcast from your intuition queen. Before I let you know who's the next guest and what we're going to be talking about, I have a major announcement for you. So this year, Intuitive Queens becomes interactive, and I'm going to have live chats with my guests, or I'm going to go live by myself. This is going to happen approximately a couple of weeks after the episode is gone live. This is so that you have the time to listen to the episode, and if there is anything that you would like to ask either my guests or myself, you have the time to do so. I send emails to my mailing list all the time with the information about the episode and about the guests, and also I ask them to send me their questions, because you might be able to join us, or maybe not. Maybe it's not in your time zone, or maybe you're just busy, but you have some questions that you want to either ask myself if it's about a solo episode, or you want to ask my guests about what they do and a particular topics or something that you might be going through that you would like some guidance on. You can sign up to the newsletter, and you will find the link in the show notes. And if you do, you will get all the information about the podcast, and you will get the information about when we're going to go live. Just follow me on Instagram. I also put information there, because that's the main place where we will be going live. But things might be changing, because it all depends on my guests and how things go. You never know. So make sure you sign up to the newsletter, so then you're always very much updated about what's going on. You can come on live. You can send us your questions, and we will be happy to help you out. This is what I've been wanting to do in the first place when I started the podcast, was to help out, to inspire people. And now I want to give you the opportunity to come and talk live with us. So this was the big announcement. Now I let you to listen to the episode with a new guest. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you soon. Ciao. Hi, everyone, and welcome from your intuition queen to a new episode of Intuitive Queens podcast. Today, I have the pleasure to have with me Kristina Sullivan, who is a soul igniter and empowerment coach. Hi, Kristina. I am so happy to have you on today.
Thank you. Hi, I'm so happy to be here. This is amazing.
I am so excited because Kristina has such an amazing energy. I was on her Facebook group, like I met her through her Facebook group, and she has an incredible story, and she has a beautiful, beautiful energy. But I'm going to let Kristina tell you all about her. So my first question for you is, how did you come about your intuition? Like, were you always intuitive, or did you have like what we call like an awakening? How was your relationship with it, and how did it take you to where you are now and doing what you do?
Right. So I grew up, I guess I should say, with an intuitive mom too. She was always into spirituality, and a lot into Native American people and their just spiritual journey and outlook on life. So I kind of always had that, but I wasn't really meditating growing up or anything. So when I started doing that was when I did this holistic wellness course. I did massage and Chinese medicine and holistic nutrition and chakra healing and all of that. And in that, we started meditating once a week in one of those classes. And I did that for one semester in 2004. And so that's when I started really my practice of meditating. And then at the end of that semester, my mom got sick and diagnosed with an immune sickness, and went in really quickly into the hospital and with chemo treatments, and it was really, really intense from the beginning. So I felt like that whole course set me up to practice this and to find a way within. There was so much happening during that summer. She got diagnosed in May, and then the treatments for a few months. She was in hospital for a couple months, and she had just sold her house that we all grew up in, that, you know, she'd been living in for 25 years at that point. So we were going through, as me and my two sisters, you know, cleaning that out and doing all of that while she was in hospital, and preparing my grandmother's house, changing that a little bit so my mom could move in with my grandmother, who was really old at that point. It was just next door, my grandma's old farm. So we were doing all of this while my mom was in the hospital. So it was really intense. And then after that summer, I started my university degree with health education. And I met my best friend there, who we met because we started doing meditation courses together. And about 4 months into that semester, my sister, with her little son, 1.5 at the time, or 2 at that point maybe, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
So this was a really obviously intense time in my life, and I went in. So I meditated and I meditated and I meditated just for healing, to be able to understand what was happening and why this was happening. And me and my best friend, we found it in just like a magic crystal store where I lived, found these books made by a Swedish shaman, and she had channeled animals and plants and the spiritual meaning of it, and those really spoke to me. So my intuitive language started happening in animals. So I did that in the evenings, like did a little meditation with animals coming to me, a guided meditation that she did, and then I went through and did looking up the animals after that. I had animals, it just kept popping in, like even during the day, like when I thought about something, an animal would, you know, come into my...
Amazing. Now I understand, because you're so connected to animals, and when you pull cards, there's always animals around you. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and so that's my intuitive language. Even now when I channel, even when I straight channel now, it's like I can see an animal, but because I've been working with these books now for 17 years now, I still have them. I don't know if we're gonna see them, but I can.
For who is watching on YouTube, yeah, absolutely.
Dirty and beaten and to pieces, but I still have them. And so that's how animals came in initially, and that's how they come in now too. But because I know most of the animals in the books now, I can get a message, and I see that when I do something, with channel for someone, and it's an animal coming out, but I know the meaning, so I say the meaning.
Right.
So that's how that came in, and it was just animals all around me. I'm very visual too. When I meditate or when I channel, I see much in visual. So I did that, and even the meditations that I did that wasn't like animals, I did a lot of the courses that me and my friend did together. We especially did this with one man, and he usually had like 3-4 day courses that we did on a regular basis, where we meditated together, and he did that to music a lot. So for me, it's just like if I sit, especially to music, and meditate, it's just like a movie showing itself. So I went in and did past life and everything like that too, to understand what was happening. And so I did a lot of healing that way, just kind of on my own, and just showed up.
That's beautiful.
So those were those 2 years of really hardships. My grandmother passed away that first summer as well, really, really suddenly. And she was someone that I grew up with too. We were all really close. We grew up so close to each other, and very heart-centered, all of us. And my family, my mom and my 2 sisters, they all worked also with people and with children, and social worker, and with handicapped people. So all really like... I grew up talking with my mom so much about, okay, why is my friend doing this? How can I understand, where they are coming from, and why they're reacting the way they do? So I grew up a lot with that kind of understanding and conversations. And so then it was about 2 years that they were sick, and they went in and out of hospital, and they passed away within 4 months of each other as well, my mom and my sister. So it was very intense, and then my little nephew in the middle of all this too. So So it was really like, for me, my intuitive language and the meditation was just for healing for me. That's all I like. That's what I needed to do just to get through this, you know. And I had some moments during those 2 years that is profound moments for me. One was before she passed away. Before my mom passed away, I decided to, my heart was just telling me to go to Australia to study for 1 semester within my degree. And my best friend was going to go there. She's like, do you want to come? I'm like, I can't really come, but I really want to. And then my boyfriend at the time broke up with me, and I kind of out of the blue, and I was like, well, I guess I'm coming with you. Because he was the main reason why I was like, not going to leave him, you know. And, you know, we didn't really know the time that, you know, how much time my sister and my mom had. Right. My sister was more of like, she doesn't have a lot of time. My mom wasn't really that discussion in the same way, you know. She was moving through it, but then when it intensified, it was just more complications on complications that happened for her. So I had a few moments where, I guess, mentioning through that. One was when I did decide to still go to Australia, even though they were both sick, and it was one of the most intense months of my life, because I was dealing with that, and then back and forth, like my heart was just telling me go, 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 and then I was dealing with, well, I'm leaving them, I'm leaving my other sister, and my dad was in the picture too. They divorced when I was young, but he wasn't emotionally available, right. But he was there, you know, helping us, and it wasn't that, but he was a part of it. But so I eventually decided to go, and my that last conversation with my mom was so beautiful. She was feeling a little bit better at the moment, still in the hospital, but not in the intensive care anymore. And she was like, Kristina, I have so much I want to, you know, talk to you about, but she couldn't really, it was a little bit hard to talk because her breathing was what was most affected through all of this. And she's like, I just want you to know that I love you so much, and I want you to go to Australia and have a really good time.
Right.
So I had that conversation, and then the next day I left for Australia, and 3 days later she passed away.
Wow.
And I obviously went back to Sweden, and you know, all of that. But that was such a, you know, what a gift a mom can give, you know, because she saw my journey, and she saw that I was like, my heart is telling me to do this, and it's the hardest decision of my life, but I was just like, I have to follow my heart. So that leap of going when it was so hard, I was like, I have to believe in myself, and I got that support from her too. You know,
this is so beautiful, and I think this is so something that so many of us have to go through, and the guilt of leaving someone that you love that is not well, or even just, as you said, leaving the other sister that was well behind, having to go through all of this. I think this is such a beautiful confirmation that although it's not selfish to follow your heart, if your heart is telling you this is where you're supposed to go, and you're leaving behind something that it's painful to leave behind, but that's not where you're supposed to be. And I think for a lot of people, this is where it becomes very difficult to really trust themselves and just go without feeling that you're being selfish or you're being something that you're not. It just, that's where your path is asking you to go. And you've been lucky because you had supportive system, but if you don't have someone that supports you in that way, will tell you, where are you going? I'm sick, you're leaving. I guess that's where it becomes more complicated to follow your heart and know that that's where you're meant to go.
Yeah. And I had that with my other sister, who was still, you know, well, that was where I got that of like, you're so selfish, and you don't even, you know, you don't understand, do you understand that, you know, what's happening? And then even after she passed, like, do you understand that she passed, and because I was like about to, I chose to go back to Australia after that month of the funeral and going through her house and, you know, all of that. So that was my voice, exactly what you said, that like just feeling so guilty. And I can completely see her point of view, because we all lost everyone. We were all so close, and we all lost our whole support network, and we lost each other too, because I went on a spiritual path, you know. And that was that hardest decision of like, okay, am I going to follow my heart or not? And I did, and that was the most healing that I'd ever done, you know, for myself. But
do you think that if your mom didn't give you her blessing, would you've gone?
I think so. I had, at that point, that last day, I had decided to go. So, but I also kind of always felt that I had, you know, we were so close. I always had her support. I didn't necessarily need that last part, but it was her like last gift to me, which we didn't know at the time. Subconsciously, of just like really sending me off with that. Because I did not expect her to pass. It was a shock. It was not. My sister, I had like made peace with that. I might not see her again, but that wasn't the case with my mom. So yeah. So yes, I do think I would have gone, because I made that decision in my heart. But yeah, she gave me something really beautiful by giving me her blessing.
Oh, I think this is so powerful, because I think that, you know, tuning into your heart, even when the situation around you, it's not exactly as you wish it was, or as in your case, there is someone that is sick and you might not see them again, like choosing that's where you need to go, and your life doesn't stop because their life is about to. It's really difficult, but it's also a testament to how much you trusted yourself and how much you were tuned into yourself. And I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for you to have your other sister instead telling you that you were selfish for not staying there, and maybe just stay there with her and take care of her and everything else, because we all have this. And like, for example, I know my brother wasn't very happy when I left, because it meant that I left him here with my parents, and he had to deal with everything. Not that they were sick, it just, you know, you just deal with, and you're there, you don't know what's happening, and you just living your best life. And that's not exactly the case, because obviously you were healing, and it's not that you were there to live a better life. It's just that you needed to go that way.
I needed to go that way for my healing journey. And I completely see both sides. I see and understand my sister too so much, you know. But I had to choose myself, anyways, and choose my heart, because it was also like I didn't know why. It wasn't necessarily logical, you know. But it was just my heart was just like screaming at me. And now, like in hindsight, I can know a little bit more why, but at the moment, it was just that healing journey that I needed.
This is so beautiful.
I have one moment too that I know that I've told you about earlier, but that's also really profound on my spiritual journey and going within and finding my strength within. And that is after my mom passed away, and I was in Sweden, and I was staying at a borrowed apartment at the time, and I was really obviously at a low point of just like, you know, everyone is falling away. My support network that I grew up with so closely and so dearly, both with my mom and grandma and my sisters, were falling away. And I had moments, especially 2 moments actually, where I'm like, I don't want to live this life anymore. It was really, really, really hard. And one of those moments, it was an evening, and I was like, what do? I don't want to wake up tomorrow. I don't want to be in this anymore. Like, I just don't. And I asked the universe, I asked my guides, and I was so fortunate. I had, you know, meditated for a couple of years at that point. So I was, you know, so in tune with that. So I was like, you better help me now, because there is nothing left of the human me. What do I do, you know? And 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 I just asked them to help me, and I was literally laying on the ground, on the floor, on this carpet that I still remember, and just crying for hours. And but I felt through that, I felt so held. I was like so alone, but I felt like my guides, you know, the universe, were just hugging me the whole time, just holding me. And for hours, and they were there until I felt that, okay, it's okay that I wake up tomorrow. I'm going to do this, whatever this life is, I'm going to do this, and I'm okay with it. And it was such a profound moment, because I really reached that low point. But in that low point, I found that guidance and that love within me. And then experiencing that transformation that happened in those hours, were like, this is where I have my strength. My inner strength is always with me, even though everything around me is falling apart and everyone is falling away. That's where I can go.
Wow, this is so powerful and beautiful, and thank you for sharing this, because I think that your story is quite extreme, because you lose your grandmother first, and then your mother, and then your sister, and then your other sister kind of pushes you away because she's not happy with your decision. So everything that was your support system goes away, and you're quite young still. And I can only imagine, you know, going through the process, being like, well, why am I here then? Like, if everybody is leaving, then maybe I should be leaving too. You know, when you feel like you have nothing to stand on, and still having that little hope that, you know, maybe there is a reason for me to be here, and if there is, just show me that. I think that takes a lot of inner strength to even just ask for it, to something that you don't even know. It's not something that you can actually touch, or you know, whatever it is that you believe in. I think there's always that skeptical moment in, but even if I ask, what do you think it's going to happen? But you trusted that if that was what you had to be and do, and if you had to still be here, something will happen. And I think this is extremely powerful for a lot of people that are listening right now.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that too, because what it was for me is that trust, that leap into that I had done a couple of times. With one, trusting my heart more than, you know, the people around me, and the situation, the human situation, you know, around me, trusting my heart. And then in that moment of not wanting to be here anymore, of trusting that there is still something, and I don't know what it is, and daring to be in that unknown. Was the same when I went to Australia, and it was the same when I went to going within. Like, I don't know why, but I'm trusting myself, and I'm trusting my intuition, and I'm trusting the universe. So that is that, like, those breakthrough moments when nothing is left but trust. And that's why I think that's, you know, that's the biggest challenge and the biggest test that we all get on our journey.
Oh yes.
Yes.
We're talking about it just earlier, how much this year has been about trusting yourself and knowing that you're worthy to do what is it that you feel called to do. But I guess that it's always very difficult to get to that point. Trust is a big topic with a lot of layers.
Exactly.
So I think,
and trusting in the unknown when you don't know, and that's where I believe growth happens. Like, if there's something that is changing and we're taking that leap of faith, we have to take the leap of faith into the unknown, because that's where the magic is going to happen, or the healing, or whatever, you know, all of it.
Wow, this is so beautiful. I'm kind of feeling you right now. Okay, so what happens next? Like, how did you go about after that? What happened to you?
So that semester I did go back to Australia, and I did lose my sister at the end of that semester too. So I went back to Sweden and, did all that and were with my family and then finished my degree that next spring. And then I still felt my heart was like, I didn't finish because I was going to be there for another 2 months. And I didn't finish. And my heart was still like, you need to go to Australia. Like, you need to go to Sydney. I didn't study, and I studied up close to Byron Bay, but Sydney was always my space. And I'd just gone down to Sydney to just live there for 2 months after the semester was done, right as my sister passed. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Sydney. So again, I'm a little bit radical in that too, but at that point I knew to follow my heart. So after I finished my degree, I sold everything I had, the apartment, everything in it. I had one suitcase. I put 2 boxes at my dad's with some photos and whatnot, and I bought a one-way ticket to Australia.
Wow.
So, and that first visa was for 1 year. So I didn't book even a hotel night. I was just like, got off the plane and I went to the Opera House, the steps of the Opera House, because that was my place. I'm a singer too, so I just love I'm not an opera singer, but just love the energy of that. So I was sitting on those steps for so much. And so anyway, so that was the first day there. And then I was like, oh, what should I do? Where do I go? It's like, well, what do I like? I like beaches. Let me go out to the beach. So I went to the beach and got a hostel, bed. I stayed there for a couple of weeks, and then I started looking for a room. Got a room with someone close by, and he's like, well, there's this like local internet cafe. It's like for local people down the street, but they always take in a lot of international people, so maybe go and ask there. And I went and asked there, and got a job, and it was such a healing journey for me to be there. And also, I know even my boss there was like, at the beginning, I was quite shy, and I wasn't completely, I'd been studied in Australia that other semester, but I wasn't completely fluent in my English language. And so, started just washing dishes. And then by the end of it, I was like taking orders. It was such a busy restaurant. People were just lining up and, taking orders, and then you have to, direct them everywhere, and just feeling like, okay, I'm really grounded when I'm, in that space. And she was really reflecting back to me like, Kristina, you're a different person, through these 4 months or whatever that I was there. And I also went through a lot of healing, obviously. Did a lot of, again, still meditation and singing. I rented a piano so I could sing, and that's healing for me too. And also, to tell you the truth, I also went through really hard times. I started having panic attacks. I went to cognitive therapy because I was like, I have to get help with this. So I went to cognitive therapy, which really, like, it's not spiritual, but it's really that like awareness, self-awareness of what is the thought that, starts the bringing you down, and all of that. So I did that. And the man that I went to is really helpful. It helped me a lot to eventually stop them, or see before they started, at least. So I learned a lot about myself, along the way, and that self-awareness came in there too. And then I had one moment where I again just like went downhill, and I was texting my friend, and just like a week before that, I had nightmares of being back in Sweden, not wanting to be there. But I was texting with my best friend, who was still in Sweden, obviously, and she's like, Kristina, why don't you just come home? So at least I can take care of you. Like, I had good friends, but they were new friends in Australia,
Yeah.
And it was still like deep friends. I had one friend who studied psychology, and she was really there for me, but still it's different, So my friend was like, Kristina, why don't you just come home so I can just, hold you? And at that moment I was like, yeah, everything went so peaceful. I'm like, yeah, I will. But because I was so peaceful with that, I still stayed on for another month so I can have Christmas and New Year's in Australia, because that's what I'd always dreamt about, having like New Year's under the beach and all of that. And we had an amazing time. And I went with 2 girlfriends on like a road trip the last few weeks. And yeah, it was really beautiful, because I come to peace, And then I went back to Sweden. I rented a little apartment room from my cousin, and I started doing healing work. I met this healer who did some somatic balancing, and I actually took a course from her later so I could practice it as well. But what that was for me was, she played music, so I was meditating while she was doing her, energy body work.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for every week for a few months. And I was back at my old job, and, just kind of going through all of that, and releasing so much grief. It was just like layer after layer after layer of grief. And at the end of that, I started feeling like, well, who am I now? It was like that peeling of the onion, or as I often describe it, as the ever unfolding rose. So just opening and opening as these heavy layers fell off, then just opening more into like, ooh, who am I now? And what is this really? Like, what do I want to do with my life? And, finding myself. And I know people from work too came and said, like, Kristina, what are you doing? Like, we know what you went through last year. Like, how can you be so radiant? How can you be so happy? And it was really that, like, just, it was such a beautiful reflection of like, I go within and I look at what I really need to look at, and I do my healing work.
It's the only way to really free yourself from grief and any other emotion, because I mean, you need to heal. Time helps, but deep emotion and heartbreak in that kind of way, it's really, really deep. And if you don't help yourself with someone or yourself like you did, it's just gonna take more and more time, and you're never really gonna heal yourself completely from that. And for you, it was even more powerful because it was more than one person in a very short amount of time. But even if it's just one person, still you need to give yourself a hand and go through that, healing yourself and asking for help to someone else. I think that's the most important thing, really.
And that asking for help too is like, you have to be held. Like, yes, that's strength. I totally promote that inner strength, but too, it gets, I mean, as you said, it gets so much easier to get that help too, and to be held is something that, so many of us, especially on this path, and so many people that I meet on this path, is like, one of the hardest things is to receive, because we are, so many people that I meet and work with are givers, and that's why it's also harder to break free from choosing our, in choosing our own path, instead of taking care of our loved ones. Or it doesn't have to be that break, but it's like, in one way, it has to be that shift of like choosing myself first, so that then I can give from an overflowing cup or from a whole cup.
Totally. Yes.
So that is also a part of learning to receive.
This is so important. I think this is, like, your story is a testament to that, like choosing yourself, not out of selfishness, or I don't want to deal with this, or out of fear, but really out of love for yourself. Because sometimes this is the best act of love that you can have for yourself. It's choosing you when society and everybody else is telling you, no, don't do it because this is not right. But you should know what's right for you. And when you know what's right for you, then you can help yourself to help other people. But if you choose because of what other people say, or out of fear, then you're not going to be able to help other people, and you're going to be able to barely help yourself. So I think that's really, really important to understand and tune into.
Exactly. You have to, like, if you don't help yourself first, then you're going to deplete yourself in the process, and then you're not good for the people that you do want to help either.
No, exactly.
So it's so much about being that beacon, and I truly believe in that, because that's then also the inspiration for them to be the beacon for themselves.
Exactly. Because when, as you said, people saw your transformation, and obviously they're gonna look at you and be like, how did you do that? Tell me all about it. And they can get inspiration from you, and maybe start doing healing for themselves. Absolutely. I think we all want that kind of radiance in our lives, and that kind of love for ourselves. It just, sometimes it's difficult to realize that's what we want.
Exactly. And then there's always people that are not going to understand us, and not going to understand that path, and that's also that responsibility that we have to let go of, that we're ultimately all just responsible for ourselves and to, making our life the way we want to make it. And I believe, and we can't, if we're looking at our lives as, a soul journey, we're responsible to tuning into that. And we can't take responsible for someone else because we never know what they're going to choose,
Right. Yeah. Everybody has their own journey, and we can't help everybody, even if we want to, especially the people that we love. But sometimes, that's what they need to do, and that's what we need to do, and we need to learn to be at peace with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very true.
Yeah. And so what happened next?
Right. And I know, so I had this moment of with this woman that I did the healing work with, and she was, as I said, playing different songs through our sessions and all of it. And towards the end, I'd worked with her for months. I was like, finally remembered to, like, I have to ask you about this one woman that I hear you playing, and I love her songs, I love her text, it's so resonating with me. Like, who is she? And she looked at me and she said, well, her name is Kathy Savada, and she's a singer-songwriter, obviously, and she lives in California. And this was in May. And I think she has a retreat coming up in August. And I sat down and I just cried. It was like my whole being just knew, it was, everything just clicked together. I did not obviously know why, but it was just like full alignment. I just cried out of like, I will be there. And so I finished, it was, a few months left. I finished the job that I had at the moment, and I decided to, again, just follow my heart. I had I kind of forgot to mention that, but within those 2 years that my mom and my sister were sick, my boyfriend at the time broke up with me, and that really sparked a feeling in me of like, who do I want to be with? So I had met some, I had some shorter relationships in those 2-3 years after that, but I always had this of like what I call now like my Northern Star, my compass of like what who I wanted to be with. I had it as an energy. So even a couple of those relationships that I had, a little bit into it, I was like, well, wait now, does this fit this energy that I'm holding? And I was like, no, it doesn't. So I actually left both those relationships because I was like, I'm going to go for this. So then thinking that, oh, I'm going to go to California, I really felt that, or I went into like, oh, am I going to meet him there? And then my intuition just told me like, you're not going there to look for him. So I had to like course correct myself, because I don't, we don't manifest by going and trying to look for something, or like, okay, I'm just going to follow my heart, and my mission in going in this trip is to just be happy. I'm going to follow what makes me happy. So I did. So I rented a car for a month. I just had those first 4 days up in Manchester planned. And I was like, I'm just going to follow my heart. It's just going to lead me. So I had those 4 days at the Mineral Springs up there, that retreat, which was so beautiful and just so loving. She's such a loving person. And there I met a woman who worked down at Harbin Hot Springs, north of San Francisco. And I was like, I'd never been to hot springs before, coming from Sweden. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go there. I went there and I met a group there that had come together from like Canada and Australia. They were good friends, but didn't live, close to each other. So and they were really spiritual. So we were meditating together every evening. And it was just really a beautiful time for me. And one of the guys there, he was like, oh, I need to go back. I need to go up to Lake Tahoe, to this weekend or whatever. And I was like, oh, I have a friend in Lake Tahoe. And I just emailed with her. We don't really stay in contact, but I just emailed with her like before coming over here, because she had mentioned that she goes to California. I met her when I was working in Australia in that cafe. So I was like, oh, I'll go and visit her. She's also spiritual and just like, very spontaneous. So I just emailed like, hey, can I come up? I'm heading to Tahoe up here, apparently. So she was like, yes, I just got back. She was in Italy. And I was like, yeah, I'm here. You just come up. So I went up to her, And we spent that first day just like, she showed me around the lake and, you know, had just a beautiful time. And then that evening we came back to where she was living with 3 at the time, I think, roommates. And one of them was like making costumes in the kitchen. It was glitter and feathers all over for Burning Man. I didn't know Burning Man at that time, but that's what was happening. So and we connected, obviously, and spent the whole, like, my friend went to bed, and me and this man spent the whole night together just making costumes and just talking, and realized that how much, you know, we have in common and all of that. So. And then he went to Burning Man. I went to San Francisco and explored for a week. And then when we got back, we were both like, what is this? You know, we need to see what our connection is. And so we went on a road trip for about a week, and he showed me all around Northern California. And we just realized how similar we are. We have the same foundation, same belief in life and, you know, spiritual life, and also what we like as, you know, human beings too, what we enjoy to do, you know, on a regular, you know, daily basis and stuff. So we had such a beautiful foundation together. And those 2 weeks really was just like, yeah, you're the man.
Oh.
So I stayed. I called my best friend and like, hey, I need to stay longer than this 1 month. So she emptied my apartment at my cousin's place. I didn't have that many belongings because it was a furnished place and everything. So she just emptied it so I didn't have to pay rent. And I stayed the 3 months that I could on that visa. And at that time, with him and my friend, and that time we had decided to go travel the world for a year. So we left and did that, and he was we married, obviously, and we were together for 12 years, and that was 13 years ago now. So it was a really, really beautiful love story, and really beautiful, you know, life that we found together, and really intentional too, coming together really intentionally. And then we now have our 4-year-old daughter together, which is really beautiful too, because as I said, we have such a similar foundation and belief in life, so we can, you know, we raise her very much as a team.
But
yes, but he's not my ex-husband. Because life.
I think this, what you are gonna tell us now, it's the most pivotal moment of your life, being more aware and kind of like sober, if I can say that way, where there is no healing that you needed to do because of something that happened to you. It was more like of coming to a point where, okay, so I've gone through all of those phases of my life, and now something else is popping up.
Right.
And it's just me asking myself about me, rather than trying to figure out how you had to heal yourself or manage yourself or anything. It was more like, okay, all of those phases of my life come to a close, so what next?
Yeah. And a part of that was too, I believe, for any parents listening, that my daughter was about 2.5 years old, where I was like, you know, you go so much into being a mom and you know, like experiencing that of taking care of someone so intensely. So it's easy to forget yourself. I still had my business at the time that I had my own business, sewing business. That was a really beautiful creative outlet for me. So I always had that. But it was still that of like, okay, she's a little bit older. She's, you know, 2.5 now. It's not as intense of being there 24/7. And we had, because we both had our own businesses, her dad was always there from, you know, so much in her life. And from when she was like 2 months old, we had, you know, days where he had her, and then I had her. So it was like we raised her very much together from the beginning. But I do feel like it was also that moment where it's not one moment, but where it's like, okay, now I've gone through the intensity of that. It's not the healing, it's not the grief, but it's just like another layer of, well, who am I now? I'm a mom, but I'm not only a mom.
Just that, yeah.
And then, as you said, of like, okay, who am I, and what do I want now? So I feel like that had a part in that too. And then I really started feeling this pull of my like guides. And I hadn't, we meditated together and we did, courses and stuff, but it wasn't as intense as I had done at times. So I really felt a calling again. My heart was just starting to, or my, intuition, for me, that's in my heart. But my intuition was just like, okay, here's a pull again. I feel this in me, like it's time, as you said. So I started again, really being diligent with myself of meditating and writing. I channel my mom and my sister and well, my dad and grandma, everyone at this point, because my dad has passed away, 5 years ago as well. So I have always channeled them through these years, and that's a part of how I get messages too, apart from the, the animals and all that too. So I, again, like committed to myself of like, okay, I need to go deep within. What is this calling? What is happening? Who am I? What do I want to do? I go within. So it was, every evening for almost 3 months at that point, I was just like channeling, meditating, journaling, just to go within. I didn't really necessarily get any answers looking back at that time. It was more so just going deeper and deeper within and reconnecting again of like, I'm a spiritual being. I get, messages every day that, they support me every day. And then being led on this journey to,
it was more like to get some direction, I guess. When you're not receiving answers, it's more like, okay, do this, follow this, open this book, talk to this person, which is more like you're gonna see where that takes you later on. Right now, just follow this path.
Yes, beautifully put. Exactly. Yes. Yeah, it's just like step by step. You don't, kind of feeling where you're going over here, but that's like 10 steps away, and you don't, know the way there. So exactly what you're saying. It's just like, yep, read this book, follow this person. So I realized too that I need someone to help me to, like, I was looking for, a while into that, like I was looking for a coach. I was like, I need someone to help me. What is this? How do I express? I knew this when I started my, university degree 16 years earlier, that I wanted to work with people and with well-being, but I always wanted to do it more in a spiritual way than what my degree was in, health education more, even though if it was fairly like all encompassing what I studied, but I wanted to have that spiritual path in it. And I always knew that. And also because of everything that I went through those years of studying, of, finding my spiritual path and the help that it gave me. So I started going, online and looking at coaches and following, all of this. As you said, one thing leads to the next. And then eventually I was like, okay, you're my girl. I'd found Ashley Rose, who I often talk about. I'd stalked her for a while. In the beginning, I was like, I don't really resonate. Like, who is she? Until you realize that, oh, this is what you've gone through. You know what you're talking about, Because at first, when you just see someone, you're like, what do you know? You kind of have to get to know someone a little bit. Or not getting to know her, but just like
just see what the person is doing and where you got connected to this person, and if you resonate with her.
Yeah, exactly. So I eventually decided, I reached out to her eventually saying like, okay, I need your help, I believe. What do you do? How can you help me? And she's like, this is what I do. We can do a 6 weeks together package, and I'll help you clarify what you want to do and how you could do this and how you could start a business doing it too. So I was like, yep, let's do it. And it was a stretch. It was a financial stretch. I think everyone knows that on the spiritual journey, when you reach out and you like invest in yourself without knowing the outcome. It's like, oh, I never paid this, money to. But
I mean, you would pay that money to go on holiday, but to invest in yourself, I think it's something that for us, it's always something that, you're not taught to invest that much money on yourself.
Yeah.
You might for the family, you might for a holiday, you might for, I don't know, put that money in savings to buy a house or something, but not really to invest in yourself to grow. It's kind of crazy. And then I see it, like I remember when I started myself, I was like, I don't think I can actually pay for this. And then I did. And then you feel like, okay, this was the greatest thing I ever done, and why did I not do this before? But yeah, you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, like, do I really need to invest that much money on myself? Am I deserving investing that much money on myself? So yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
A lot of
Yeah.
questions and self-doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, like, am I deserving of it? Can I really do this for something that I don't necessarily know the outcome of?
Mm-mm.
Still, it's again that like leap
Yeah.
into the unknown, and then you're doing it for yourself, you
Yeah.
know?
Again, that
Again,
trust.
yeah. Yes,
That you
exactly.
need that for a reason.
Yes, exactly. Of like trusting, like, yes, my heart, my intuition
Yeah.
is telling me that this is right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to close my eyes and take the leap, you know?
Mm-mm,
So I
mm-mm.
did that. And that was the week that lockdown happened here
Mm.
in, well, most of the country, but here in California, like everything shut down. So that was also then that week that my other business, I'd signed up with her. We hadn't started the session yet. Sessions we were going to start the next week, and my other business went, you know, from a full-time business down to 5% in just
Yeah.
like that. Because all the markets I was going to go on that, do a market, and that was the 14th of March. I was going to do a market down in the Bay, and that shut down. And then all the other ones, the whole spring was just like, we're closing,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, most of my business. And then the store shut down, so my other half of my
Mm.
business selling to stores, like, so in one moment I lost my other business. And I remember that weekend, it was one of the biggest snowstorms here up in Toronto too. So but I just had to like grieve that the other
Mm.
business of just like, holy, what
Mm,
happened, you
mm,
know?
mm.
And we were inside and we were playing in the snow and all of that. So, and then that, I think it was that next Monday or Tuesday that I started working with Ashley, and she is so amazing. She's a, you know, business coach, and she showed me so clearly. I was just telling her, like, this is what I love to do.
Mhm.
Because she's like, what, you know, your purpose always comes from what you love to do,
Yeah.
not what you can do
Mhm.
necessarily, but what you love to do. So I was just like, blah, 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 this is what I love to do. And she's like, okay, so what you're saying is this and this and this and this and this. And she is so amazing. I mean, I've worked with her on and off, but more on than off for this last, you know, year and a half now. So she really showed me that, oh, well, this is what you're saying. So I started Instagram at that point, and started reaching out to people. Some people came over from my other business of like, oh, I'm doing this now.
Mhm.
And I did a little workshop with just a few people in it, with like, embody your vision. Like, what do you really want? You know, because that's how I had, you know, gone through my journey
Mhm.
too, of like, what is it that I really want? I had done it a lot in, you know, in a man, but also like, what is the life that I want to live? So we did, you know, workshop in that. I did not do any of like the channeling or anything like
Mm.
that officially with my clients to start with, because that was also a coming out phase for me. So that took me a couple months to officially say that, yep, and I also am a reader, and I'm
Mhm.
psychic, and I channel. And it was, yeah, yep. It's, you know, it's one more step
It's
to
difficult
say
to
that
say
out
that.
loud.
Yeah, it's very difficult to say that. I also had that thing. It took me way longer than you, because I got stuck onto the I'm a coach thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm a coach, but then, you know, when I do color therapy, I tune into the colors, and that's when I become a channeler. And
Yes.
I guess it took me up to this year to say that I channeled through colors, and
I love that.
I just I don't know how that came about. I think I was explaining to someone here what I do, and then something inside of me just said, oh, you know, I channel through colors. And then I was like, oh, okay, I just said this. So I
Yeah.
guess I am a channeler, and I do channel through colors. And this is what I do. Oh yeah, I think I was trying to write down the outline for the podcast. I wanted to talk about color therapy a little bit more.
Right.
And I had never explained what I do in that kind of way, and I never talked about myself in that kind of way. And it
Right.
just came through, and I'm like, oh, okay, I do actually channel through colors. So
Right.
I guess I am that. But I had that moment where I was like, am I really that? Because, you know, channelers are so amazing. I go to channelers, right?
Right. Yes.
But
Right.
then
Yeah.
saying you are one, it's very difficult at times. Like, can I really say that about myself?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And I think too in our society and like so many and especially women, but I work with men too that goes
Mm-hmm.
through that same because the men have different,
Yeah.
general journey to heal. But it's that like witch wound. I mean,
Mm-mm.
we were that the gifts that we all have, not just women
Yes.
but men too, but
Yes.
women were the ones, being killed for it and
Yeah.
just like suppressing all those gifts and connecting to our intuition and connecting to our healing powers within us and in
Yeah.
in the world with herbs and crystals and all of
And
that.
our senses as well, because like all
Yeah,
the channeling comes from our senses, and and we forget about that, but that's like we feel with our senses, and that's where all the messages come through. And that's why there are different ways of channeling. People see, people feel, people hear, and all of that.
yeah,
And that's where our power really lies. But sometimes it's just scary to go around and say that to people.
yeah. Exactly, because of that judgment and that
Mm-mm.
6 generations,
Yeah.
ancestral healing too that needs to happen. That I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like pretty much every spiritual
Yeah.
coach and light worker that I meet have to go through that journey.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, and especially with our families or closer friends that aren't necessarily that is that like coming out phase. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was interesting. I'll tell you a story about that. I remember when I posted that, the first post of like, I had my cards in front of me and it's a photo of me like, this is what I really do at night. I channel, I do cards and all that. And that was the 28th of April, and which was so amazing because after that, so I, then started my business, started channeling for people, and started my Facebook group, and got a lot of people in there and connecting with so many people, and started having it really as a business. I still had my other business at the same time, even though during
Mm-hmm.
that first initial 6 months it was dead pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But then that for the holidays it picked up a little bit, so I did more of that, and then I came into, and I'm jumping a little bit because I have something else to say, but that next 28th of April was actually, I didn't realize it, and I never go into like memories and Instagram to see,
Mm-hmm.
how you can see, but for whatever reason, I actually do know the reason, but I ended up going into, someone helped me to go into to the memories of that day, and I was sitting at a parking lot down in where was I? Sacramento area. And I had just sold my embroidery machine, which what I was doing in
Mm-hmm.
my sewing business. I just sold my main embroidery machine to like a store that I sold to as well. And I was sitting in the car after that, and I realized that today is the 28th of April. Today is when I like almost officially started not my business but my channeling part. So it is
Mm-mm.
like that was the day I came out officially, and then a year later that was the day that I like marked the, in one way, closing of my other business
Mm.
in selling my machine.
Amazing. Like
Still had some inventory,
synchronicities.
but the
Yeah.
making, yes,
Yeah. And
exactly.
I think date numbers are so powerful, where you really close the cycle. And who would have known that, from the whole craziness of the pandemic, that's what would have happened for you to really thrive in this new business. Because I remember I found you on, you were doing cards, and then I joined your group, and it was the very very beginning.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
think it was
then
that
like,
summer, or yeah, fall.
yeah, and then just seeing you now, I'm like, wow. I mean, remembering when you said, oh, I closed the other business because now I'm full on this, I'm like, wow,
Right.
that's really is meant to be.
Yeah.
It really is tuning into yourself and your gifts, and just go for it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And now here we are, like a year and a half later, and it's been a journey here, which we'll go into a little bit, but it's like, yes, that thriving of my business and what I do now, and I do this now full time, and actually also making as much money as I did at the
Mm.
top of my other business. And it's been, up and down and a journey here,
Yeah.
but that's been beautiful. And just like I've been reflecting about that a lot this month of like,
Hmm.
wow, I've actually gotten myself here
Yeah.
pretty quick, and just my own, and that guidance, my coach, and I've done another, some other coaches too, but she's my main one.
Yeah.
But then also to kind of have to say, because a part of this is also then what I realized, I was just about to launch my first group program last early fall, late summer, and again I just felt like something is shifting within me. I had just started this channeling course with Ashley, and I was like, again, like I just felt like this, like I knew it was like heart opening, but I felt it energetically. I was like, something is shifting in my energy, and I don't know what it is. It's just getting like bigger. It's heart opening. It's holding more love. That was, part of, I was doing a couple of mentorships at the time, and I just felt like I can just hold more. And then I went through obviously a really, personal journey in that, in coming to the realization that, that I am here for it all. So in starting my business is like, wow, I'm really coming into my soul purpose. And then on top of that is like, well, my soul purpose is to really fully live my life. And what then I realized in that time was that my husband and I had been together for 12 years at that point, and there were things that hadn't worked. We were a great team, but just on a personal level that didn't quite work, that we'd gone to counseling for for quite a few years, and we had a like rocky path those last couple of years, and and I was like, I am actually done with this. We're not moving this energy together. We've tried, and I done a lot of healing work and all of that, and I'm like, I'm done with this. And a part of that is also like, I'm done with holding that healing space for someone else as well. And so it was just like, it was such that the last realization that I had, like it obviously happened and I was processing so much, but when I really stepped into the final decision was, I had just been out, I was out walking so much, and I was like usually sitting at a couple of spots meditating out in the sun, and I'd just been meditating. I don't remember quite what the meditation was about, but I remember as I was getting up from the ground, I like saw myself, envisioned like, oh, I'm coming out of this like burning city behind me. Everything was crumbling, and I felt like the gladiator, like just like that picture of just like everything is just fire and craziness, and here I come like out of the flames.
I'm the winner, like yeah.
It felt like, and what I realized in that moment is that I am okay that my life as I know it now crumbles.
Wow.
Because I know my strength, and I know that I'm here to have it all. Again, I don't know what all of that is, but I'm here to be fully happy, and that's including my relationship. And that, as I've been saying, like we came together with such an intention, and we've had such a beautiful foundation. So for me, that wasn't like leaving someone who was mean or abusive, nothing of that. It was like leaving a good relationship, but also like, no, we both deserve to be happy, where we couldn't, give that to each other anymore, despite trying so much. So I just felt like, okay, here I am. I'm strong enough to go through this, because I know again where I'm going, or at least the energy towards I'm moving towards. So and that was when I decided to leave him. And that has been such a healing journey then, together and through that, and all of that. Even though you're the one, I was the one decided to leave, it was still obviously healing and a grief to what didn't work out between us. And
it doesn't mean that because you made the decision, you're not going to feel pain over it,
Right.
This is what everybody, a lot of people think, like, because you make the decision, then you don't feel the pain, but you do. It's just that, again, as it is always happening in your life, you have chosen to follow your heart, because there is more for you to get, but also to give. And I think this is what a lot of people forget. It doesn't mean that because you have made a decision many years ago and now that decision doesn't feel aligned, that you cannot choose something different, something that is more aligned to you, to your heart, to your desires. You can leave the job, you can leave that person, you can leave that place, and choose to create a new life that is more aligned to you. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you have that choice. If you follow your heart, you have that choice, and somehow things will fall in together.
Right. Yeah. And we're always growing, and that's our
Yeah.
mission, to always grow, more, and to always like, yeah, explore and up level more, whatever that is. And to letting our, also to letting our dreams grow with us, to letting our dreams shift, because they might shift, in 10 years, they might shift in 1 year,
Exactly. Yeah.
and to allowing that. Yeah. And also, like, what I come across, so like a lot of people too, is that it's never too late. Like, even if you realize when you're 80 that, oh, I want to try something new, that's like, that is that evolution of always constantly growing. But it's easy when you get a little bit older to like, oh, but I'm this old now. It's like, yeah, but you're still living your
Yeah,
life.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we need to break through this mental dates and a age that we have, that we are supposed to do or not do something by that age. I
Yeah.
think it's just something that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Or
It's
that
just
we have to
like,
settle.
exactly, like,
Yeah.
your heart tells you to do something, and that's okay. That's follow your heart.
Yeah.
Like, I like that we talk about this. Moving back to Italy, I come across a lot of situation when I was in London. I think there is more of different kind of there is a mixture of everything, and so I didn't feel that different from other people because I'm 39 and I'm single and I have no intention to have kids. I just want to grow my business and find a man whenever I will find, not settling for the next person that comes along, but just, working on myself to manifest that person. And I don't own a flat, and I spend a lot of money on my healing, on my journey, and I traveled. And in London, that's very much what a lot of people do. So I could find a lot of people that do this, and then you move here and the conversations that I have is like, oh yeah, I just bought a house, I have a mortgage, I can't move, I can't do this, I wish I could leave my job, but I have a mortgage. Oh, but you've done so many things. Oh, but I'm like, oh, let's breathe, because
Yeah.
clearly there is this thing where, oh my god, but you are 39 and you have done all of this, which is so amazing. Oh my god, I'm so jealous, but you don't have that. I'm like, yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
is not where I want to go, so I don't need that. Maybe I will
Yeah.
get that, but I don't need that, because
Yeah.
my heart and my intuition are telling me this is where you need to do, and this is where you need to spend your money on, and this is what you're supposed to do. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
I have a clear vision and understanding why I'm here.
Yeah.
You clearly don't, because you're stuck into something that you're not even happy with. And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
it's that kind of like, by a certain age, I'm supposed to be having all of those things, and
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
out of
That
place if you
condition is
don't.
societal,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
or and
yeah.
cultural and whatever that is, like
Yeah.
conditioning of like,
And I think you need
these
to
are
be
the
brave.
milestones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You need to be brave to break through that and be like, no,
Yeah.
this is what I know it's true for me, and go for it. Which
Yeah.
also means leaving a husband that you had a great relationship with just because, you can have better, or leaving
Yeah.
a job because you want a business that makes you feel fulfilled. And because, as you say, I want everything,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that journey is so individual too,
Mm-hmm.
of like,
Mm-hmm.
um, whatever that is for us, and that's why it's so important to that everyone listens to their
Mm-hmm.
hearts,
Oh yeah.
and even not like, with readers and coaches and whatnot, like you don't resonate with everyone, and it's not going to be
Yeah.
you're the same way just because they've gone through but it's like, that's the thing, here what makes you happy, so
Mm-hmm.
how can you
Yeah.
create more of that, and what is
Yeah.
your path,
Yeah.
In relationships and in work and in life and in experiences and travels, all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, tell us now a little bit more about what you do. How do you help people? What is exactly, because you mentioned a little bit here and there, but I kind of want to go a little bit deeper into what exactly you do, because I think you are such a great channeler and also you have an amazing energy. So I kind of want you to tell us exactly what you do.
Right. So, so the main thing that I do, and my business is Sanctuary Within, because as probably everyone have understood by now, that's what I'm about. That sanctuary is within, and this is where the answers are. And as you said too, this is where the love is. And I believe that through going through any healing or manifestation, it's about radically love who we are right now in this moment and loving all of us. And that's where that transformation starts. So mostly of what I do, my programs, and if you people that are working with me longer, I lead them on a transformational journey. So my one program, signature program, if you want to call it that, is Soul Blossom, and that is where I guide people through to go within and finding that routine. How can I tap in every day? What is my intuitive language? How do I tap in? But Soul Blossom is more of that. It's not just the intuition, it's the whole transformation. So it's then, how do you use your intuition, or rather practice to use your intuition through a healing journey and through inner child healing, if you want to call it that. Some people call it shadow work, whatever that is within you that needs to come out and to be seen and healed and looked at, whether it is, trauma or wounding or, childhood, whatever, or if it's that coming out of like, who am I now? And that inner exploration. And that can sometimes need, healing too, in terms of, wanting to have it all, because usually there is some kind of limitation or something, or something that has said something along our way, so we have to break through that too. So guiding my clients through that, and then with that also guiding them through manifestation. How do you create that energy that I kind of mentioned, that I, for example, did with a partner, and have done really deeply with a partner, like through this year too. Who do I want? What's the energy of who do I want to be? What is that having it all for me? Whether it's a relationship or work or income or situation, whatever. So Soul Blossom holds all of that. And then I have an additional program called Royal Manifestation. That's kind of the building on Soul Blossom, or for the people that have done a lot, like that are already on the very spiritual journey and have that set. So, and I also blend in rituals, because I also do, I've done lately for quite a few months now, cacao ceremonies, and how heart opening that is. I do rituals and a little bit of spell work. I work with crystals and candles and herbs a little bit too. So to like help focus that. So I bring that into that as well. So those are the transformative work that I do with people that I work with longer. In my one-on-one sessions, I do, what I start everyone with is really grounding, because we're so much in our head, and society is so much head based. As you said, like, this is the path that this is how your life's supposed to look, and this is the boxes that you need to check. And all of that is in our head. And our limitations are a lot of times in our head too, because of conditionings or because of trauma or whatever it is that we're telling ourselves, and we're criticizing ourselves and all that. So what I'm helping with is to ground into your heart. And that is also that transformative journey. But even in a one-on-one session, I help you to connect with who you truly are, to connect with your intuition, to connect with the universe. We're all spiritual beings. We come from the universe. We're so much more than our bodies. To connect with our gifts, to connect with our magic. And when we do that, then we do tap into our intuition, which, as I said, leads to both, healing and manifestation and all of that, self-awareness. So often in my sessions, I guide you through to really feel that again. I bring you home, whether it's through meditation. Sometimes I take people through meditation to do that, and a lot of times I do cards, or as I said, I do straight channeling, like automatic writing as well, to really see what is your path, what is the priority right now, what are your guides saying right now, how do you land in your heart to go through either challenges or to go through. I do that in business too. I do business counseling too, of like, what is it really that lights you up? What is your soul purpose? And then also, because I have so much, business experience at this point, for my now 8 years in my own business, I can teach a lot of the practicality of that too, but it comes from that, like, what is it that lights you up? So that's what I do in the one-on-one session. So I do both healing. I do distance healing too. I do chakra healing as well. So sometimes you just need that healing without the talk, and sometimes you need the understanding and the talk and the channeling through that. And then the business guidance. And then I'm also about to start a course, actually, that, well, I guess by the time this airs, it will already be going, but I'm going to do a course which holds the practicing your intuitive language, and practice different kind of both mediumships, and I've done that for 16 years for myself, that kind of channeling, and we'll do cards and all of that. So I'm going to have a course just to deepen your intuition too, without necessarily the transformative journey. It holds transformation too, because when you do go with it, when you listen, and then it just comes out.
Absolutely.
So that's, I do a lot of different ways, but it is a transformative journey that I hold, and that's the space that I hold too, all through loving yourself radically.
Yes. And please tell us where we can find you, so then we can go and check you out.
Yes, right. So on Instagram, I'm sanctuary.within. And my Facebook group is, facebook.com/groups, sanctuary.within.you. I do have a Facebook page too that you might find first, but that has a link to my group where
all the links will be in the show notes, so you just have to go and click on it, and it will be a very easy way to find you.
Right. And I'm just redoing my website, but in just a couple of weeks from now, that will be sanctuarywithinyou.com as well.
Amazing. For everybody that needs some help, Kristina is amazing, and I can tell you because I work with her. She has an amazing energy, so go check her out, and then maybe join the group and see what she does. I just think that your energy is really powerful, and you have such a pure heart, and you really connect to the person. So I think this, for me, as someone who does something similar to you, it's really important, because not everybody can have that really heartful connection, just because we are intuitive people, and sometimes we connect with, sometimes we don't. Nothing wrong with the person.
With people.
Exactly. So all right, Kristina, this has been such an amazing podcast episode, and your story is so empowering. I would talk more, but I think we got to the hour. And before we close this, I just want to ask you one piece of advice that you will want to give to the people listening after sharing your amazing story. Whatever you feel called to say.
Right. I'm going to throw two things in there, I think, because that just came to me as you said that. But one thing is trust yourself. Trust yourself. Listen into this. And then, as I was saying too, to get out of your head and into your heart, ground yourself and take a deep breath, because that's where you're going to hear your own voice, and this is where you're going to hear your voice, is where you're going to hear your intuition. So whenever possible, just to ground and to feel who you truly are. And that's a process, but as much as we can remember that, just to take a deep breath and be in our heart, that's the beginning of it all, I feel like, and that's the beauty, magic of it all.
I love it. Just got chills. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kristina. This was so amazing, and it was such a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Mara. This is such an honor to be here with you, and I love you and your energy and everything you do too. So radiant. So
thank you.
Ooh,
that made me very happy.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kristina, and for everybody listening. I'll see you next week.
Yes. Thank you, everyone listening to my story. Thank you. Bye.
And what a great episode as usual. What a great story. I always love to have guests on my podcast because their stories are so amazing. Do check out the show notes for every details. It's all in there, and do go check her out. Also, if you want to join the my mailing list, do subscribe to the newsletter. You can always be updated. You will always know what's going on when the podcast is live, and also some other stuff that might be coming through. I'm not a spammer. I don't write that much. You can find me on theintuitionqueen.com. You can read my stories, see what I do. And if you want to work with me, just go to the service tab and you can find color therapy readings, intuitive readings, and card readings. It's all about helping you to understand yourself on a deeper level, more on a deeper energetical level, and helping you to understand what is it that you need to release and work on, and how you can get so tuned to your intuition. This is what I love doing. So each session is in a different way, can help to do that and to heal yourself if that's what you need. And also, if you feel like working with me a little bit longer, I also have a program called Discover Your True Colors, and you can choose to work with me for 8 or 12 weeks. It's up to you, but we can figure that out in a free call, just to understand what is it that you need to release and heal. We are here to heal ourselves so then we can live a better life. So this is what I'm here to do, and I'd love to help you. So do get in touch. You can also find me on Instagram, The Intuition Queen, and that's also where you're going to see all the lives with my guests, and you can check the replays. You can always ask us questions, and you can join my Facebook group, Discover Your True Colors, and that's where you can see some free training and a little bit more understanding about what I do and how I can help you. Well, thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Your future's at the door.